Extremely dangerous Category 4 Hurricane Joaquin continues to severely pound the Bahamas. I'm Mike Nasel with the latest on extremely dangerous Joaquin. As we continue to watch it sit there in the Bahamas, you can see on the satellite this is a very serious hurricane. Look at the gray showing up. The eye is just now starting to come ashore, it looks like, on Long Island in the Bahamas, close to that region. It has relentlessly been there for 24 hours, pounding over and over as a Category 4 hurricane. A very bad situation for the Bahamas. And Dr. Phil Klotzbach from Colorado State University, the hurricane forecaster, made an interesting tidbit that this is the first time a hurricane has hit the Bahamas as a Category 4 in the month of October since the year 1866. A year after the Civil War ended was the last time we saw this occur to the Bahamas. So it's happened before, it will happen again, but when it does happen, it is never a good thing. Here is the latest on extremely dangerous Joaquin. As of 5 a.m., it was at 23.3, 74.7. Winds were 130 miles an hour, so it's perched right at the Category 3-4 threshold, a minimum Category 4, if there is such a phrase. Winds could gust as high as 160 in those eye walls. The outer wind maximum, I'll show you that in the satellite. The movement. This is important. It's drifting, so don't expect much movement right now, but it is drifting northwest at 3 miles an hour. So we've finally got some sort of a bump to the north. This thing has not moved north in the last 24, 36, 48 hours. It took that unusual southwest track right into the Bahamas, and certainly for residents of those islands, it has not been a good 24 hours as it relentlessly pounds them. It is expected to remain strong, fluctuate up and down a little in intensity, and then eventually take that northeast turn. And eventually by Tuesday, east-northeast to where Wednesday morning it should be south of the Canadian Maritimes and not an issue. But again, it could be on the left edge of this, much closer to New England than we'd like to see, or it could be much closer to Bermuda if it took the right edge. As of right now, the models have trended a little bit west this morning, but still it looks like the East Coast should avoid a direct hit. And based on the Hurricane Center cone, you can see the East Coast is not in the cone anymore, which is good news, but do not let your guard down. 935 millibars is the pressure. This thing is the strongest hurricane in the Atlantic since 2010. It's been 5 years, half a decade, since Hurricane Igor, which slammed Bermuda, was a large and powerful 924 millibar hurricane. This got down to 931 earlier today. And to be honest, it was stronger than its satellite presentation implied, which these Air Force guys and these reconnaissance fellows, they really have done a lot for this storm. I'm very impressed, as is everyone else, on how they took care of this hurricane in covering it. I should note as well that the wind radii with this hurricane, the strongest winds right now, are over portions of land. They are over Long Island in the Bahamas. San Salvador recently reported a wind gust almost to Category 4 strength. Even in a gust, that could cause significant damage. Remember Hurricane Charlie? Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda? Remember that gas station video from 2004? All it took was that high-end Cat 4 Category 5 wind gust, and extreme damage occurred with the wind. We also have the relentless tides and rainfall and flooding, and you can see the tropical storm force winds affect eastern Cuba as well, which is why we have those watches and warnings out. Again, this should all start to move to the north, but don't be surprised if Joaquin grows in size as it ends up kind of uncoiling like a snake. If you're in South Florida, obviously keep an eye on it. There's a Category 4 hurricane sitting right off your screen here, but the odds are is that there's no way it can make it to Florida. That seems to be what the general thinking is right now. You can see as we look at the model guidance, as I said, it did shift a little more west. Of course, you got the NAM bending it back into Florida. Thank goodness that's not going to occur, but still, New England, watch this here. Some of the models, the GFS, the Euro, have bent it a little bit more towards the west. The UK Met's now the furthest east, which takes it closer to Bermuda. So we're going to be watching this very carefully, but again, it is looking better. But don't think that it's not going to have an impact. You're going to have beach erosion, constant onshore flow on the East Coast. I remember in November of 2001, I was a teenager back then, But for those of you who are young watching this and you were like, I don't remember that, there was a big hurricane in the Caribbean named Michelle, if you recall. It hit the Bay of Pigs in Cuba and Cienfuegos as a Category 4 in that region, and it moved across, and it actually had the high pressure to the north that was keeping the hurricane in the Caribbean for a while, and the counterclockwise flow caused significant beach erosion along the Gold Coast of Florida in the fall of 2001. So we always want to keep an eye on that because that will be a threat as well. You can see the wind shear over the top of the system could be a little more favorable. If it was a little bit further to the northwest, it would have a perfect environment. But as of right now, it doesn't have that much problem. Still a little bit of northerly shear, probably about 10 knots or so, which, thank goodness, anything to keep this in check, but it's already a Category 4 hurricane, and you can obviously see from the shear tendencies that it's not expected to be in an unfavorable shear environment for the next 12 to 24 hours. So continued strengthening is possible. If it clears out an eye and interacts with the trough to the north, kind of gets enhanced, it could pop out an eye as it moves away from the Bahamas. We saw Ophelia hit 140 miles an hour at a very high latitude as well. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this because it could still strengthen a little bit. Now, when we look at the latest water vapor imagery, what I'm going to do is show you how you could see the hurricane just relentlessly pounding the Bahamas there. This gives you a good idea of where the eye of the storm is. You can see it right in here, starting that slow northward drift, northwestward, but still relentless pounding of the Bahamas, a very well-organized hurricane. When they don't move like this, not only do they prolong the effects, but just looking at the satellite as a buzzsaw, a Category 4 buzzsaw right in the middle of the Bahamas. Certainly some of the worst they've seen since Floyd 99, Francis 2004. Francis for sure. San Salvador got slammed hard during Francis, and as of just a while ago, they had winds gusting to Cat 4. So, as I mentioned, that should show you this is a very, very serious impact to the Bahamas at this time. The general thinking with the hurricane, again, as far as the pattern, you can see the trough here in the southeast U.S. There should be some interaction starting, and when you look at the satellite, you're beginning to get an idea. Look at the way the clouds are fanning out in this direction. That is pointing in the direction that the upper level winds are wanting to take it, which is eventually going to be towards the northwest as it moves now, and then north, and then back to the northeast. So we should get a pretty clear turn, but nonetheless still a very dangerous hurricane pounding the Bahamas, still going to have effects on the U.S. East Coast. And as of now, if you're on the East Coast, still be prepared because you can never say never with these things, and this has been an unpredictable, severe, what we could call now almost a late season hurricane. So Hurricane Joaquin continuing to pound the Bahamas. Stay tuned for the latest, and we'll see if our residents in the Bahamas fare okay. As of right now, they are dealing with a very, very nasty storm. I'm Mike Naso from IPR. I'll see you next time.